welcome to She Chose Joy with Melanie, where we discuss all things love, wellness, and joy. I'm your host, Melanie Foote-Davis, also known as the Self-Love Cultivator. I'm excited to be back today for part 2 with Tiffany Allen. And so, if you have not listened to the episode entitled Find Your Energy Generators, I suggest you stop now, go back, listen to that first, and then come back and join us here for this episode where she'll be talking about your money and your confidence. Because we all know that we walk a little differently when our money is right. And so she's going to help us share how to prepare for a rainy day, because it's going to rain. And sometimes it's actually a tsunami. Are you prepared? Are you prepared to walk confidently even on a rainy day? Well, let's dive in and listen to Tiffany Allen, a financial professional with over 25 years of service who knows a little thing or two about what that looks like. Here we go.
Hi.
Well, hello, Tiffany. Welcome back.
Thank you. How are you?
I am well. And so this is part 2 of a conversation that we started. And so for the listeners who have, if this is your first episode you're listening to, make sure you go back and listen to my first conversation with Tiffany Allen called Finding Your Energy Generators. All right. So thank you for agreeing to continue this conversation. I know that your time is valuable, and so I don't take that lightly.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And so, the first episode that we did, we were talking about protecting your energy and finding your energy generators. And then that morphed into another conversation where we were also talking about, money being energy and the value that brings, but even in terms of our relationship with money.
Right.
And one of the things you mentioned was us bringing the responsibility back.
Right.
For the next generation. And so can you say more about that?
Well, we talked a little bit about how the generations view money and their spending habits on our last conversation. And I just really believe that, we've got to take our youth back. We talked about the baby boomers being just the responsible generation. And statistically speaking, they do have a lot more disposable income than any other generation. And so we have to look and see, well, how did they do that? What did they do that we are not doing, and how can we learn from them? Obviously, there are some societal things that have changed as far as pensions and things like that. However, I do believe that we need to make sure we extract that information and those habits from them before they're no longer here. And I think that's what's changed as it relates to money, finances, love. There's so many things that, we really have to extract from them so we pass down.
Okay. And where do you think is a great place for us to start with that?
I think where we start is really with, our own elders. We have to make sure that our youth, we have to make sure they're curious. They're asking questions of their aunts, their uncles, their grandmas, their mothers, and not to mention just the professionals in the industry. If there's something that you need to know, don't be afraid of asking the question or asking, someone to mentor you in that area. I think, especially in this decade of COVID, with so many people who, we've lost and sickness, I think people just really have a desire to be better. And not just for themselves, but for their family, their community, and society as a whole. And so I think the ask is, you know, what are some of the habits that have gotten you to this point? Whether it's saving, whether it's meditation, support groups, and even as me for my own, profession, with finances, I am more than happy to talk to people when they ask. When you're sick, you go to a doctor. So if you need help, you go to a professional.
You know what? That's what you just said was so simple as it relates to when you're sick, you go to a doctor, right?
Right.
But when it comes to money, well, money historically has also been a taboo topic.
Yeah.
So it's not something that we were actually taught to ask about. And so I love the fact that you're saying, go ahead and be curious and ask questions, and not being afraid to ask, because I agree with you. I do agree that in your belief that we have a desire to be better. Like I genuinely do believe that. It's just that we don't always know where to start.
Exactly. And, be curious, but also be willing to be uncomfortable. Be willing to be humble, and also be willing to, and I'm going to say, just get naked, right? If someone is really in the mind frame of helping you, your humility and your ability to be very candid and just, unleash the things that you need help with, even those things that might be sort of painful to you, you have to heal. And so in order to heal, you've got to, be willing to open up and let that pain out and allow somebody to help heal you in those areas. Be vulnerable, basically.
Yeah. Being vulnerable is key, and it may feel uncomfortable then, but it's so freeing on the other side.
Absolutely. You have to go through it to get to the other side. And so many of us don't want to go through it. We don't want to feel that pain, but unless you go through it, right, you don't get to the other side. And if you do, you don't respect it.
True. Which may be a part of where we got out of alignment in the first place.
It's very possible. It's very possible.
That
it is very possible.
Yeah, like there's a whole set of instead of us passing down things being passed down to us in terms of wisdom and the how to, right? Like you said, extracting the habits. Because there's one thing someone can tell us the habits. Someone can also show us their habits, right? And some people do both. But when money is being managed or handled behind the scenes, we didn't always see the habits.
Right.
And so when things were magically gifted to us, there is a different level of respect in it. When you spend your own money on something, you treat it a whole lot different than when somebody gave it to you.
You do. And plus we just have to understand, the money related principles, right? How much do we spend on those leisure things? How much should we be allocating towards our bills? And so, I'm not so against gifting, because there is a greater population that gifts things, monetary things, all the time. And they still have a level of respect. I think, we just need to teach them and show them how to have that level of respect. So the ideals and the principles as it relates to, saving and protecting your wealth and growing your wealth. And it's something simple like this, right? It's Christmas time. And even me, I struggle with, okay, what do I give my children and my grandchildren or my granddaughter for Christmas, right? And so this year, it's stock, right? And so I'm teaching them how to prepare for later, as opposed to things that are going to bring them satisfaction right now. We have to make them understand that, there is something to be said about delayed satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
they deserve it. They deserve to have, to experience that as well.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. And you're right, there is something to be said about delayed satisfaction, like because we've shifted into like instant gratification junkies. We want it now, we want it now, we don't want to wait
Yeah.
for it. I grew up with layaway. I loved layaway, so I didn't mind waiting for things, and I still don't mind. But how do you share that? Like, how do you teach that, for example, so that the appreciation is there?
Yeah. So part of it is being confident right where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Have some confidence about where you are. And you know how you develop that confidence by doing the right things all the time, right? Or at least most of the time. Your goal should be to do the right thing. So even when COVID came about, and we had a lot of people worried and really unsure and uncertain about how they were going to manage through.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about it in many scenarios that it was a confidence crisis.
Mm-hmm.
How confident are you that you can make it through? How confident are you of your emergency fund? Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Okay. So confidence, how confident are you with what you have? And again, I keep telling my clients and friends and loved ones, you deserve to be confident about your life, financially, spiritually. We deserve that. And it takes some discipline. We talked a lot about discipline before. And it takes you being around individuals that help you to protect your energy as it relates to what makes you the best you. So block the negative energy, get curious, and be willing to be uncomfortable to get to the other side.
That's good.
Nothing happens in your comfort zone. Nothing good happens in your comfort zone. Nothing grows there.
Nothing grows there. Yeah.
Nothing grows there.
And really, realistically, what we call comfortable is not comfort anyway. It's just familiar, but we're not comfortable in those spaces. Otherwise, we wouldn't want to leave. And so, okay, the confidence crisis. Love that, right? And like, how confident are you with what you had? I think that's a really beautiful question. Reminding that we deserve to be confident about your life, block the negative energy, get curious, and be willing to be uncomfortable.
Yep. And I've been talking to colleagues and friends and loved ones, and I've asked, and I'll say this in this forum as well, pick a word for 2021 that's going to define how you live through 2021. I'll be vulnerable. Mine is discipline. And that's discipline in all areas, in my career, more disciplined with finances, more disciplined with family time and spirituality. So discipline is my word, and everyone's going to be different. And so figure out a word that works for you, that's going to help you bring back your responsibility or enhance your responsibility. Because again, everyone who's listening deserves that. They deserve to be confident about their life and their life goals.
Yeah, I believe mine, I'm still toying with it, but I believe mine is going to be align. Because when I am in alignment, that is where I have peace. And so instead of being distracted by shiny objects, what's popular, or even hearing too many voices, just remembering noticing when it's out of alignment. And so if I'm in that space where this is the path that's for me at this time in this season, then all will be well. Because my path may not look like it does not look like someone else's.
Right.
There may be similar threads, but you know, and it's also, I'm not totally grounded in that being my one word, but it's definitely
Mm-hmm.
one of my guiding principles that I'll be moving through, leaning into as we approach
Good.
2021. Yeah.
Good.
And so what, like, back to that space about like this confidence crisis. I really love that. And you gave some good tips on where to get started in terms of being curious. Are there any so we're here now. We're at the end of 2020. We're at the end of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
We've already experienced a lot of uncertainty in all of those things. If it was one place, or maybe I'll just say 3 places to start, is in terms of who to go to ask. What would be that one place? Would it be coming to someone like you who works in finance? Would it be their ancestors, or is it just choose one person who you see them move in a way that you would like to, right? You see them experiencing life in the way that resonates.
So I'm going to say not one person, maybe
Mm-hmm.
not just one.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked a little bit about this on our last call or on
Mm-hmm.
in our last conversation, but break it down.
Mm-hmm.
Break it down professionally,
Mm-hmm.
break it down personally, and break it down.
Aspirationally. Yeah, I remember now.
So professionally, personally, and aspirationally. And then as
Mm-hmm.
you break those goals down that way, maybe it's not just one person. Now it's 3
Yeah.
or 4. I mean, it really cannot be cookie cutter. It's really going to
Mm-hmm.
depend on
Mm-hmm.
that individual.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're all multifaceted. We have many areas of our
Mm-hmm.
life that need to be aligned. I'll use your word, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they can be very different personally,
Mm-hmm.
professionally, and aspirationally. But ultimately, everything you do should align to the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to add one more to that category, and that is spiritually.
Yes.
Like someone else, someone who helps to keep you spiritually grounded
Yeah.
as well.
Almost like a
Yeah.
subsector of personally. So you
Mm-hmm.
you can break it down. I
Mm-hmm.
remember I'm thinking about when we were all in college and we had to, break the outline down. So have an outline for your life,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like a
Mm-hmm.
roadmap, like a business plan. So many times we don't do that for our own life. And then if we do, we truly get the opportunity to live our life by design. How amazing would that be?
Mm-hmm. Totally amazing.
Yeah, because we deserve
Yeah.
it.
And again, that's also that, like, the fact that you mentioned discipline, that's where that comes into play. So that when you have your outline, there is room sometimes to stretch a little bit in terms of and make adjustments for the outline,
Mm-hmm.
but still being able to stay the course,
Yes.
right?
I,
So
I
I
call
came
it stick
across
to itiveness.
stick
That's
to
my
it.
word. Yes,
Yeah.
stick to itiveness.
Yeah, I came across a couple of things when I was preparing for this call, and one was how to create a wealth mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and it said write down what you want,
Mm-hmm.
envision your future, affirm your desire, listen to your inner voice, take action and transform, and hold the vision. And that vision is a discipline piece,
Yes.
but it starts with knowing what you want.
I think you should repeat those because I couldn't even get them
Okay.
all down.
Okay, so it's an acronym for wealth.
Okay.
The W is write down what you want. The E was envision your future. A, affirm your desire. L, listen to your inner voice. T, take action and transform. And H, hold the vision.
Love that.
I mean, yeah, I
Love
didn't
that.
see who to give credit to it for, though. So I
That's
don't know who to give the
awesome.
credit to, but I love that too. I thought you might
Yeah,
appreciate that
I
one.
like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And I found another one too that made me think of you, which was it said, I didn't come from money, but my children will.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And so, yes, we have people that we can extract some of their habits from, but some of us didn't necessarily, grow up in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
But they can still use some of those other tools, like you mentioned, in terms of seeking someone professionally, personally, aspirationally,
Mm-hmm.
just now in their now moment,
Right,
right?
right.
Because everything else is over. So this is good. This is good. Thank you so much for coming back just to share a little bit more about how to bring responsibility back. And yeah, not just for the next generation, but even for like my generation, because I'll raise my hand. I've gotten way off course.
Yeah.
And that's not something I'm proud of, but that's me being vulnerable in this moment and saying, speaking my truth, that's an area of opportunity for me to be more disciplined.
Right. And we all do. So you can't beat
Yeah.
yourself up.
Yeah.
Here's what I keep in my mind at the
Mm-hmm.
forefront. It's almost
Mm-hmm.
like, when I'm trying to lose weight and really watch what I'm eating, when I am putting better things in my body, I
Mm-hmm.
feel better about myself. I
Mm-hmm.
am more confident. I walk taller. I speak better. I sleep better. And so
Mm-hmm.
we have to always think about, if we are not putting the right things in our body, in our mind, in our spirit, how
Mm-hmm.
does that make us feel? Right? Probably not so good. And so
Mm-hmm.
we have to just reprogram our minds to make sure we're doing all of those things to make us feel better, because we deserve it. That's the thing. We
Yeah.
deserve it, right?
Yeah.
And so many times, I have a good friend who is a head of a corporation, and he always says, well, somebody had to be the boss. So why not me? So
Right.
why not you?
Mm-hmm.
We just have to know that we deserve it and be
Yeah.
resilient enough, like you said, to take the action and hold the vision,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. And that's where surrounding yourself with those energy generators that you spoke of too, because they can help to hold you accountable as
Yes.
well, right?
Yes. Yes.
The ones that are the energy drainers are the ones that will have you out here spending all willy-nilly,
Right.
because it's on sale.
Right. And again,
Um,
delayed gratification, delayed
mm-hmm,
satisfaction. We can
mm-hmm,
delay that, right?
mm-hmm,
Um, you know, I'm gonna just go. We're women, right? And we women like nice things. We like the bling, the glitz, the glamour, the designer.
mm-hmm,
However, when I look at a woman, or anyone for that matter, and I'm thinking about, and I see a lot of things in my own profession. So what are you driving? What kind of bag are you carrying? What kind of shoes are you wearing? What kind of watch? All those things are nice,
mm-hmm,
right? But what does your
mm-hmm,
bank account look like? Tell
mm-hmm,
me that number. And
mm-hmm.
how confident are you with that?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's nothing wrong with having those things,
Absolutely
but
not.
it's positioning yourself to have them in a way that makes sense, right?
Absolutely so. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
like I'm a firm, like as it relates to one of my friends was teasing me. Well, she thought it was odd that I didn't have a dream car, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's just because cars, they're just not my jam
Right.
as it relates to that.
Right.
I'm like, I need a car to get me from point A to point B,
Mm-hmm.
but there's nothing wrong with having you know,
No, nothing at all.
a wonderful experience with it. Um, but again, like we can have all those things, but when we need resources to take care of emergencies and all these other things, then what's in that bank account is going to be where the difference is made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like I said on the last call too. My mom used to say, hey, Tiffany, it's going to rain one day. Are you saving for a rainy day? because
Mm-hmm.
when it rains, you're going to need it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
guess what? COVID was a pour down. It was a tsunami.
Tsunami. Yes.
So if you weren't ready for the small rain, the light rain,
Mm-hmm.
gosh, COVID could have taken you out. And some people it did.
Mm-hmm.
Some
Mm-hmm.
people it did.
Literally.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is just one example of why we need to be prepared. And one of the things that I talk about all the time is just a systematic way of doing these things, systematic way of saving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Start saving small, make sure the money comes right out of your paycheck, send it someplace where you can't get it,
Mm-hmm.
where you can't get to it readily, right? You can't get to it right away. And then if you have some goals in mind and maybe you're saving for a purpose, is it your rainy day fund, your emergency fund? Is it for vacation? Is it for retirement? There is some satisfaction in watching that grow. You
Mm-hmm.
look up one
Mm-hmm.
day and you're like, wow, look how this has grown.
Mm-hmm. You feel a sense of pride too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You get to say, wow, look at how powerful I am. I did that. I created
Yes.
that. I played a role. It's something really beautiful about that moment,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
It
Um,
is.
I even remember back when they used to have like the Christmas savings accounts
Mm-hmm.
so that there was money put away specifically for this season of the year. The credit union I used to belong to used to have that years ago. And that was even that when Christmas time came, the money was already allocated for whatever gifts you were going to get.
You were confident that Christmas
Mm-hmm.
was going to be a success because you planned for it.
Absolutely.
In a systematic way of putting
Mm-hmm.
those funds away for a time such as this.
Mm-hmm.
How
And they
beautiful
were,
is that?
yeah. And honestly, if I remember correctly, I don't think they even released the funds before.
It's like
And
October
I may be,
15th.
yeah, something like that. So you put it there. It was not going to be released until later. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did the same thing. I did the same
You
thing.
just tied all that back into the system and the confidence and whatever. You're really good. You're
You're
good.
good.
You're good at this. You're good at this.
But it
So,
does.
mhm.
It's all connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all connected. So I know someone who used to tell me, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I pondered on that, but it's true. How you do one thing is how you should do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of these things are aligned, right? You can't I tell my kids all the time, right? They want to in some situations use slang, and then in other situations they
Mm-hmm.
in one's in college, you want to talk in a different fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Those two don't meet.
Mm-hmm.
Be one way, right? Because that slang is going to come out when it's not supposed to. It's going to slip out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the only example I could think of really quick. But how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah.
Be that way, because that's being authentically you. And that is where your power comes from. That's where your power comes from.
So true. So true.
That's your power, your authenticity.
Yeah, but that's a topic for another day because
Yes.
getting to that place where we've given ourselves permission to be authentic, be able to accept, like you say, you deserve it, but there are many people who do not feel worthy or deserving of it. And that authenticity piece is compromised every time we go into that people pleasing phase.
It is.
And all of that ties right back down to where the money is spent.
That's right. See, again, it ties all together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And here's the thing, you can't please everybody.
No.
People are not going to be pleased with your decision. So be authentically you,
Yeah.
so that at least when you're pleased and you're confident and you're doing the things that you know you deserve,
Mm-hmm.
your energy is right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where that alignment piece comes into place too. It's like, is this aligned with their path or yours?
Or exactly.
And
Exactly.
being able
We're
to be
onto something.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being able to be okay with that.
Yep.
And here's one of the things that to be transparent that I really worked to move through, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that was not over explaining my choices when the choice
No.
was the choice that was right for me.
Yep.
You don't
No
have
is a
to
full
you
sentence.
don't have to understand it. But this is
That's
what I'm
right.
choosing for me because this is the best decision for me at this time in this season.
And people will respect that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People will respect that.
Yeah. So, how can listeners get in touch with you?
So, if you'd like to continue this conversation or find out a little bit more about my career area of discipline as it relates to financial matters, I can be reached at 312 622 5183. Again, that number is 312-622-5183. And again, my name is Tiffany Allen. And I am so glad that we had this conversation. It's almost therapeutic for me as well. It
Yeah.
is therapeutic for me. So
It,
I definitely appreciate you
yeah.
and your vision and what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you all being here. It's one of those things, it's like I have my lane and that's my space, but I know people, like many people like yourself, who have a wealth of knowledge that's not in my area. And
Right.
so why not collaborate and have other people pour and share, in their area of expertise? Like that whole coming together, that connection, that collaborative energy is
Mm-hmm.
actually what will lead us to a more fulfilling and satisfying life.
Absolutely.
So I just
Makes perfect
appreciate you all
sense.
saying yes. So, Tiffany, what are you grateful for in this moment?
I am grateful for love.
Mm.
I am grateful for the people that I have an opportunity to love. I do not take that lightly. I am grateful for those who love me and show it. Love
Mm-hmm.
is an action word. It is a choice that we make every day. And
Mm-hmm.
I am so thankful for love.
Yes, yes, and yes. I'm with you on that one. And like I'm grateful to be loved, supported, and embraced. I feel like I am surrounded by power and brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something really, it just makes my heart ooze to
Yes.
know that's available to me. And the thing is, I
Yes.
know it's not limited to me. I know it's available
Right.
to everyone, right? But it's just putting ourselves in the vicinity and opening up our hearts to be able to receive love, support, being accepted and
Yep.
embraced. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So with that said, I thank you for being here. I thank you all for tuning in for another episode of She Chose Joy. And remember that your freedom lies in your decision to say yes to who you are, yes to what you want, and yes to what you stand for. So will you
Yes.
stand for being confident with your money today? Take these tools that Tiffany Allen just shared, and when you apply those, you will know just how to deal with this confidence crisis when it comes.
Yep.
So with that said, thank you so much for joining us and have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.